Hello and welcome to Uncovered, the podcast with your host, Jason Irving. Join me in a journey to understand what's truly happening in your world and the world around you. This is not about how you're living life on the surface. It's about what's truly driving you from under the covers. I'm going to take you on a journey to deeply uncover the reason why you are here, the ultimate purpose in your problems and the way that they have shaped your life up until now. See, I believe you have a purpose, and your problems are the highway towards ultimate realization of that journey towards freedom and the reconnection of your true self. I've been told I have a different spin on most things, and I'll be giving you my understanding of life, love, and what we're all here for, purpose. To get the best out of this podcast, drop what you already know so you can discover what's beyond you. So join me, let's play this game of life and bring on liberation, transformation, and change. Let's do this.
Hi Jason, how are you today?
Yeah, good, Philia. How are you?
I'm good too, thank you.
That's the way. Look, we're going to be focusing today. Welcome to Uncovered. We're going to be focusing today on patience and impatience together because I think they wrap around each other quite well. And impatience is that want for everything to happen obviously now, and a want to create more in your world. And patience is to get you to understand where you're at right now and to enjoy the journey. And they sort of come together.
And how do you see people often acting around impatience or patience?
Well, impatience is like a small child. It's that part of us that wants everything yesterday and wants the lolly unwrapped so we can lick it straight away. And we're not willing to actually spend the time unwrapping the lolly wrapper. So what we've got to learn to be able to do is figure out, well, what are we being impatient about? Like, it's an immature thing in lots of ways. It's also a fear-based thing in lots of ways. So if you think about your patience, where does it come from? It comes from a fear of not getting the things that you really want to have in your life. So we get really frightened. What if it doesn't happen? What if it never happens? Where is the concrete evidence that it's going to appear? So we want everything to happen yesterday, and this is quite often what happens in entrepreneurship as well, is that you're wanting so many number of clients, so then you can transition from job to job, right? You want a certain amount of money. We want to have a guarantee that we're going to have a house. We're impatient that things haven't happened in the way that they're meant to. So I think patience is a challenge for a lot of people, because patience, we think everything stops. Right? So it's quite funny how we think. I remember in 2004 I had these oracle cards from this lady. I won't mention the name of the person, but man, I was really into these cards, and so I flip one card every day. What was my card for the day? And I got patience. It's like, patience. So I shuffled the card deck again and, got patience again. And I was just like, no, there must be something other than patience. I'm sick of this patience. Shuffled again and got patience again.
It was a very clear message.
And all I was thinking is, I didn't actually set an intent for the day. So I said, what is the most important thing I need to learn today? Shuffled the cards again, got patience. So I did a meditation on it. This was in 2004. And I got this message: patience actually expedites your changes faster.
How so?
Well, when you're not looking at your clock, you're calmer. You're sitting on the journey, you know where you want to go, but you're not actually putting so much pressure on yourself. And the less pressure you have on the journey, the more it comes to you faster. And I realised I started doing this because at the time I didn't have the clients, in quotes, that I wanted to have when I was a healer. And I wanted to get out of the IT industry completely. I was working 1.5 days a week in the IT industry, earning about 70 or 60K a year. So it was good money, right? And I wanted to get out of it completely. And when is it going to happen? I need more clients, blah, blah, blah. And I started spending time with patients. And then I had clients come like a funnel. Because I meditated, I imagined people coming and just kept focusing on what I wanted, and without the pressure involved, and it was like a funnel. It was like a tap that turned on full. And I got booked out so fast after I started learning patience. Mm-hmm. And every time that I'm doing stuff with the academy, every time I'm feeling impatient, it's like I've turned the tap off for clients joining the academy too. It just slows itself right down. And then when I let go and I focus on what I want and I'm patient, then I get a flood of people coming into the academy as well. So what I've learnt with impatience and patience is that they're a dynamic that we have to learn to have a balance of the two. Because if we're way too patient, we're not doing anything. That's mm-hmm. right on the extreme. That's not really patient. It's called laziness mm-hmm. and not implementing anything. And if we're way too impatient, we're getting a huge amount of stress and we're not coping, and everything is too much for us.
That makes a lot of sense. It's kind of like saying, oh yeah, I did my one sit-up, where's my six-pack?
That's right. How come I didn't get a six-pack with my one sit-up that I was meant to do? So we've got to learn, and a lot of people, especially in spirituality, there's a diversion technique called manifestation. So people sit there, meditate and manifest, and then nothing happens because they're not putting any steps in place. And you have to put steps in place. I'm not saying manifestation doesn't work. All I'm saying is you need to actually do some steps to make things happen and make things work. Mm-hmm. And so we've got to learn how to create rather than manifest, in my opinion.
Yeah. It's like you can't win the lottery if you don't buy a ticket, right?
That's right. I mean, I've had experiences where I've manifested, meditated, and people have come, but I've done things mm-hmm. to make that happen as well. So I know a lot of people say, well, I've manifested X, Y, and Z, but what about when you haven't, though? What happens when you haven't? Because everyone can say, oh, yeah, I had this amazing experience happen where I got all of these things, but how come it's not happening all the time? Mm-hmm. Oh, because I just wasn't practicing my manifestation properly. Mm-hmm. That's bullshit. It just means that we just haven't put effort into the effort areas that we need to put in. So, guys, when you're impatient, I think it's really important to do a little bit of a reality check to see what it is that you're wanting to create, how you're wanting to create it, and what you want it to look like, so you have a really good long-term vision. Because impatient people tend to actually not have a plan.
They just kind of go.
They just say, I want this, and why is it not happening? Mm-hmm. But if you've got a good plan, then you're in good shape. Now, I've got an amazing wealth coach who helps me turn my profits into wealth. Now, the first thing he did, and I spoke about this with the Academy members, that we need to have a 5, 10, 15, 20-year plan. He said, I'm going to set up a 20-year plan for you. And the moment he set up a 20-year plan, he showed me how it was going to look and how I could create the life of my financial dreams by having a really good structured plan for where I wanted to go. Mm-hmm. And it's actually a lot simpler than I thought. I thought I was going to have to earn heaps and heaps more money, have heaps and heaps more people in the academy. And I realised if I stick to my 20-year plan and I keep going the way everything's going, everything will work out really well for me financially. Mm-hmm. And I breathed.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's a pressure gone.
Yeah, and it really comes down to knowing, having people with experience in the area that you might be a little bit weak in mm-hmm. is really, really helpful to teach you patience. Does that make sense?
Oh yeah, 100%. So impatience would be a more common problem than people that are too patient, / lazy, that you described before, right?
Yeah, I would say so. We've got the people who are patient, who sit on their bum and they end up creating pressure. Mm-hmm. Right? Too much patience creates pressure, and you end up doing nothing and you justify it. Mm-hmm. Whereas most people end up creating a bounce over to impatience once they're actually wanting to do something. So when I've got people who are really good at being calm and they're really deep, and I say, okay, let's do something about that, they melt down, because then they have to do something, and they realise that they're actually just sitting there doing nothing. Mm-hmm. They're really calm though while they're doing it. So it's important that we, financially and all of those sorts of things is quite a common area where we get really impatient. If we've got a really strong long-term game, our patience levels rise, and our determination to get where we want to go starts to thrive.
That's amazing. And what would be like some things that you could recommend for people to become more patient?
Well, look, one thing that you can do, we've got a vision plan, the PDF vision plan that you could download. We'll put that in the comments or wherever you put them on
show
here.
notes.
Show notes, that's what they call.
Okay, so yeah, we'll put that vision plan in the show notes.
Yeah, so it gives you a little bit of an idea. The coolest thing about the vision plan, there's also a video on how to use it as well. So we'll throw that up there as well. And so what it does is it gives you a little bit of an idea of what actually stops you from creating the life that you want. So it shows you the emotions, the thoughts processes that you have, and the limitations that come along with actually when you've got a plan, when you want something in your life. So it's a sort of a little bit of a lead into what the Academy starts with when we're actually focusing on a goal. And when we start the goal, I know you were terrified of having a plan, weren't you? Yeah. But how's it feel actually having a better plan for your life now?
Yeah, definitely better. It's not like you're just running around like a chicken with its head cut off, for no reason, without any direction. But you're kind of like, yeah, okay, this is where I want to go. And if something like, if you're upset about something or impatient with something, you can always kind of remind yourself, like, I'm doing this because I want to get there. So, and this is one of the things that I do to get there.
That's right. And so anytime you have a plan for your life, guys, it doesn't just appear, and you don't get in the jet boat and then go from one island to the other island and then you're living that dream life. That doesn't work, even though a lot of people promote and promise that. That is a rarity. So it's like immaculately good-looking people. They're not the common, right? It's the same with people who make a lot of money really fast. So and create the dream life. It takes time, and you're going to have roadblocks in the way. So what you've got to look at, guys, is being prepared to have that plan in place, so then you can work with the emotions of patience, impatience, and get along the journey so you know where the destination is that you're heading. Because most people don't have a wealth journey, they don't have a purpose journey, they're just doing this one thing that we're probably taught, which is get your home, maybe get an investment property, retire and die. That's the common theme that's out there with a lot of people. But if you want more, you have to be thinking, well, what is going to stop you first? What are your limitations that you have to break through, and how can you get through them so then you can meet the destination of your journey? And this is what a lot of people don't understand, is that the roadblocks are the way, and it's what you do with those roadblocks that matter. And you've got to be patient, because some of them you can just open a door and walk in, and some of them are a mountain. And the ones that are a mountain are ones that you have to climb. And they're the ones that are not necessarily as easy. And we've spoken about this with the Academy. We do Jyotish astrology, and we get to see the mountains that are difficult. Some of them are psychological mountains, some of them are physical mountains that we have to climb. Right? So, and quite often the psychological mountains are the ones that we have to get through so we can get and be able to walk up that physical mountain. So maybe that physical mountain actually turns into a plane as opposed to walking up this huge hill, or it could feel like a hill as opposed to a mountain. So I know yours is communication, which you're getting better and better at. It's your challenge, isn't it?
Yeah.
So we all have our psychological challenges that we have to go through, and we're quite often impatient with them, aren't we?
Yeah, you're just like, why am I not there yet? Why can't I communicate like this person yet? Yeah.
So we've got to learn to have the patience and know that on the journey we talk about these 8 life missions in Jyotish astrology, which are life missions. They're not ticker box missions. So they're ones that you've got to constantly work on through the journey of life. And that's what patience and impatience is all about. And I think a lot of the time when we think about this impatience, there's something about death that relates to it. So people who are more frightened of death actually have more impatience because they think they don't have enough time, in quotes. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes so much sense. Yeah.
People who have a real calmness about, either, we go on or we go to heaven or whatever you call that, people who are atheists would be the most frightened around impatience, because they'd be thinking, I'm going to go in this hole or get burnt, and that's the end. They don't have enough time. So one thing that you can also work on is what are you connected to around death? Like, what does it mean to you? And if you're frightened of it, impatience will be actually a clause that's in your psychology that you struggle with.
That makes a lot of sense. So basically, look at your vision, and then also look at what you feel about death.
Yeah.
That would be some things that you can do to become, or to work on your impatience and maybe become more patient, hopefully.
Yeah, and be able to be calm. Like a lot of people have said to me, I'm one of the calmest people that they've ever met, and I'm very, very patient. That's what a lot of people say. Gee, Jason, you're so patient. And yeah, I am, and there are lots of times where I'm very, very impatient, and they're the areas that I know I need to learn and work with. And part of that is, my life missions and my constraints around my life, around exposure and those sorts of things. Even just doing these podcasts they used to feel really, really scary, and I'm just constantly doing them, sharing a whole bunch of different content and different ways of approaching, which is unique, and our academy is really, really unique, and it's scary for me to actually put that stuff down on paper, on video, and everywhere around the world. And I've got a book out, and it took me 4 years to get the book. The book was done. It took me basically a weekend to get the book done, and it took me 4 years to actually get it out there. And it wasn't. It was due to way too much patience through fear of exposure, right? So I used that patience really, really badly to not step into making something happen very quickly. So if I had a little bit more impatience in that regard, in a healthy way, I would have got that book out within 6 months.
Yeah, but always know better afterwards.
Yeah, in hindsight, isn't it? So, look, thanks guys for listening to this podcast today. Now, our website is www.wellnessbreakthroughacademypodcast.com. I'd love you to jump on the vision content, so you can have a look at what it is to create a vision for your life. It'd be really, really healthy, and there's also a video that goes along with that, so we'll put that up there. So thanks, Philia, for jumping on here with me.
Oh, pleasure.
And being patient with me.
Thanks for being patient with me too.
Yeah, absolute pleasure. And I'd love it if you could like or share this one. If you've got people who need to hear around patience, impatience, and what it means to them, like and share it. I'd love it if you could do that for us. All right, have an awesome day, guys.
See you next time.